Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. So I've been gaming with this TV that you see behind me on the PlayStation 4 for a couple years now. And as I was playing first-person shooters such as Call of Duty, racing games such as The Crew 2, or even RPGs just like Assassin's Creed, I always noticed that either my aim would be off by a split second. When I was driving a car, my steering would be a little off and it wouldn't necessarily go where I wanted it to go. Or during an RPG like Assassin's Creed, there would just simply be like a lot of blurring around the screen as I just moved the character around doing nothing. I couldn't quite figure out why exactly this was going on until I changed one TV setting that changed everything, and it instantly improved my gaming experience. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what that TV setting is, and I'm also going to throw in a couple more tips to make sure that you get the ultimate best gaming experience with your picture. If you enjoyed today's video and you found it helpful, please be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe so that you can always stay up to date on my latest videos. Let's get right into it. This TV setting that I found, it was a little buried for me. So the TV that you see behind me is a Samsung QLED TV from a couple years back. So where I found this setting, so I went into the home menu and I went to settings, and it's under picture. So I had to dig in a little bit, but it's actually under special viewing mode. Now for different brand TVs, they'll have different names in the menus depending on what you're trying to go after to changing your picture. But so for me with the Samsung, it's under special viewing mode. And the one setting that I've been talking about that just instantly improved my gaming experience and just got rid of all those problems was actually called game mode. I didn't quite understand why game mode changed so much so fast, but I kind of did some digging and I found out a lot more information about it. So what game mode essentially does is when you first get a TV from the TV store, such as a Samsung QLED flat screen 4K, it comes with a lot of features that adds layers on top of the source that you're watching so that it creates effects such as like a slight blur or super smooth motion. There's actually some marketing terms that they use depending on the brand of TV that you're currently using. So for mine, it says it's Auto Motion Plus, and like blur reduction, judder reduction, LED clear motion. And a lot of this stuff is really cool for like if you're watching a film or you're watching sports on TV, things that don't immediately require button input from you. And even though it may create a little bit of a time lag between when the picture is shown and the audio that's being played to you, it's not noticeable enough that you notice something like that. As opposed to when you're gaming, so when you're gaming, the game is always constantly requiring input from you. And so when you're pushing buttons or pulling on the joystick a certain way, the problem with all those extra layers that the TV puts on top of the actual natural source, which is the PlayStation 4, is that it creates what's called a processing delay between when the source actually hits the screen and then when you can actually create an input, and then it comes back to the TV, and then your character actually moves or your car actually steers a certain direction, or you're aiming a certain way. And those few split seconds can mean all of the difference between you winning a game and you not winning a game. So for me, what's cool about having this Samsung QLED TV is that I actually had this thing called game mode, and what game mode did was it just eliminated all of that extra processing layering that the TV puts on the picture source right out from the store, so that you don't have to do it manually. Now, if your TV for some reason does not come with game mode, where it just immediately shuts off all the post-processing visual effects, you can manually do it by yourself. So for me, if you get buried in the expert settings, you'll see that it's down here. So you have like Auto Motion Plus, on off, Smart LED, Digital Clean View. So the ones that are faded out are actually just like kill switch disabled by the game mode. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do it by yourself. You can do it manually, and if you still like having a little bit of processing effect because you like that visual processing that the TV does for you, you don't mind that little bit of delay, you might actually like having just a little bit, so you can manually tune how much of that like judder reduction or blur reduction or auto motion plus, depending on that name brand TV, that you actually want to apply to your PlayStation 4's picture while you're gaming on a first-person shooter, a driving game, RPG. So just a couple more tips that I want to share on how to get the most out of your picture while you're gaming on the PlayStation 4. If you want to avoid pixelation in general, game mode is by far the best way to eliminate that blurry pixelation that you might see around the outside of the screen. LED TVs are notorious for that effect, and if you want to avoid that, having game mode and just eliminating that auto motion plus and things like that is the best way to go about it. But there are also some other helpful tips as well, such as simply turning down the sharpness on your TV can make things seem more softer as a picture, and you might not notice as much like pixelation on the screen when you're lowering your sharpness setting. You don't want it too low though that you really just like simply cannot see what you're gaming on. It's almost like if you're wearing glasses, for instance, and you take them off for a second and everything's just kind of blurry. That's what like lowering your sharpness setting down to 0 does. Even though some people say they love having their sharpness down to 0, I keep it a little higher, so I leave it at halfway. But it doesn't hurt to experiment and see what your preference is for that. Also, so I have something that's called smart LED and dynamic contrast. I find that these two settings, what's cool about it is they add like increased contrast in the picture. So like dark areas versus bright characters and bright areas in the sunlight. The shading looks better when I manually adjust the smart LED and the dynamic contrast. Now, once again, depending on the brand of your TV, those names may be different, but the sole goal of these settings is that they just adjust how it processes the contrast as you move throughout the gaming world. So I like to manually just adjust it so it's about halfway. And then I have smart LED on high, which adjusts the brightness around the corners of the screen. So that's all personal preference, but by far the biggest improvement to my visual gaming experience and just how quick it is to input, a joystick pull or a button push on Call of Duty or Gran Turismo or Need for Speed or Assassin's Creed, by far is just simply turning on game mode. And that's it for this video. Once again, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe so that you can always stay up to date on my latest videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.